ferrite in carbon-enriched austenite. Ausform, to plastically deform steel as part of a certain process in order to improve its strength. Ausformed, simple past and past participle of ausform. Ausforme, present participle and gerund of ausform. Ausforms, third person singular simple present indicative of ausform. Oh, a variety of thick noodle soups that are commonly served hot in Iranian and Afghan cuisine. Ahiri, an extinct Zaporon language formerly spoken in Peru. Austrobosphonid, any member of the Austrobosphonidae. Austrobosphonidin, any thurian of the family Austrobosphonidae. Austrobosphonidins, plural of Austrobosphonidin. Austrobosphonids, plural of Austrobosphonid. Auslan, the sign language of the Australian deaf community. Ausländer, a surname from German. Ausländerjäten Theae, the study of the representation theory of Artinian rings using techniques such as Ausländerjäten sequences, almost split sequences, and Ausländerjäten quivers. Ausländers, plural of Ausländer. Auslat, synonym of coda, the optional final sound of a syllable or word, occurring after its nucleus and usually composed of one or more consonants. Auslat, plural of Auslat. Auslats, plural of Auslat. Ausles, a sweet wine, especially from Germany, made from late harvest grapes, specifically a wine from the German official Ausles category. Auslesen, plural of Ausles. Ausleses, plural of Ausles. Osman, a surname from German. Osmans, plural of Osman. Osmus, a surname from German. Osmuses, plural of Osmus. Ausonia, 63 Ausonia, a main belt asteroid. Ausonium, of ancient Ausonia or the Ausonians. Ausonians, plural of Ausonian. Ausonium, a rejected name for Neptunium. Ausonium chemical symbol, Al. Ausonius, Decimus Magnus Ausonius, a 4th century CE Roman poet. Auspex, an officiating priest in ancient Rome. Auspicate, to foreshow, to foretoken. Auspicated, simple past and past participle of auspicate. Auspicates, third person singular simple present indicative of auspicate. Auspicating, present participle and gerund of auspicate. Auspicatory, of or belonging to auspices or omens. Auspice, patronage or protection. Auspice, simple past and past participle of auspice. Auspices, plural of auspice. Auspicial, of or pertaining to auspices, auspicious. Auspicing, administration of a grant by one group on behalf of another. Auspicious, of good omen, indicating future success. Auspiciously, in an auspicious way. Auspiciousness, the state or quality of being auspicious or successful. Auspicious, obsolete spelling of auspicious. Auserberg, a municipality in Valais Canton, Switzerland. Aussie, archaic form of Aussie in Australian. Aussies, plural of Aussie. Aussie, an Australian. Aussie battler, an ordinary working class Australian who perseveres in the face of adversity. Aussie battlers, plural of Aussie battler. Aussie box, synonym of snack pack. Aussie boxes, plural of Aussie box. Aussie burger, a hamburger whose fillings include some combination of beetroot, egg, and pineapple. Aussie burgers, plural of Aussie burger. Aussie dollar, the Australian dollar. Aussie dollars, plural of Aussie dollar. Aussie kiss, an act of cunnilingus. Aussie kisses, plural of Aussie kiss. Aussie rules, Australian rules football. Aussie salute, the act of waving a hand in front of the face to flick away flies, particularly bush flies, Muscovetistissima. Aussie salutes, plural of Aussie salute. Aussie, a dog that is a cross between an Australian shepherd and a poodle. Aussadoodles, plural of Aussadoodle. Aussand, Australia. Awesomeness, Australianness. Is, plural of Aussie. Us, abbreviation of Australia. Austadder, a former county in southern Norway. Austad, a surname from Norwegian. Austads, plural of Austad. Austache. Only used in Austausch coefficient. Austausch coefficient, a coefficient of turbulent flow in eddies. Austausch coefficients, plural of Austausch coefficient. Austal, a surname. Austels, plural of Austel. Austauber, to harden a metal and produce a stronger microstructure by heating it into the austenite region and then immediately quenching and removing any bainite and auspherite. Austemper, simple past and past participle of austemper. Austempering, present participle and gerund of austemper. Austempers, third person singular simple present indicative of austemper. Austen, an English surname transferred from the given name, which is a variant of Austin. Austenasia, a micronation, a purported constitutional monarchy claiming sovereignty over a suburban house in the Rythe, Carshalton, London borough of Sutton with several claimed exclaves around the world, officially the Empire of Austenasia, capital, Rythe. Austenache, reminiscent of the works of Jane Austen 1775-1817, English novelist noted for realism and biting social commentary. Austenian, of or relating to Jane Austen 1775-1817, English novelist noted for realism and biting social commentary. Austiniana, objects, materials, or documents relating to English novelist Jane Austen 1775-1817. Austenians, plural of Austenian. Austenish, reminiscent of the works of Jane Austen 1775-1817, English novelist noted for realism and biting social commentary. Austenite, alternative letter case form of austenite. Austenites, plural of austenite. Austenitic, relating to or containing austenite. Austenitic steel, a steel that has nickel in it. Austenitic steels, plural of austenitic steel. Austenitization, the heating of iron or another iron-based metal such as steel to a temperature at which it changes crystal structure from ferrite to austenite. Austenitizations, plural of austenitization. Austenitize, to heat iron or an iron-based metal such as steel to a temperature at which it changes crystal structure from ferrite to austenite. Austenitize, simple past and past participle of austenitize. Austenitizes, third person singular simple present indicative of austenitize. Austenitizing. Present participle and gerund of austenitize. Austens. Plural of Austin. Austeo. Abbreviation of Australian is only a classified information status. Auster. The south wind, especially when personified. Austerberry. A surname. Austere. Grim or severe in manner or appearance. Austere. In an austere manner. Austereness. The state of being austere. Austere. Comparative form of austere, more austere. Austerus. Superlative form of austere, most austere. Azia. Of or relating to Paul Auster, born 1947, American author and director whose writing blends absurdism, existentialism, crime fiction, and the search for identity and personal meaning. Austerianism. Support for fiscal conservatism and austerity. Austerians. Plural of Austerian. Austritarian. One who advocates or enacts an authoritarian policy of austerity. Austritarianism. Advocacy for or enactment of authoritarian forms of austerity. Austritarians. Plural of austritarian. Austerities. Plural of austerity. Austerity. Severity of manners or life, extreme rigor or strictness, harsh discipline. Austerlitz. Former name of Slavkov UBRNA, Czech Republic, the site of Napoleon's victory over the combined Russian and Austrian armies in 1805. Ostorp. A suburban area and civil parish in the metropolitan borough of Leeds, West Yorkshire, England, east of the city centre o Westgrid Ref SC 3733. Austin. A male given name from Old French of Anglo-Norman origin. Austin County, one of 254 counties in Texas, United States. County seat, Belleville. Austin Heights. A barangay of Kalanbugan, Lanao del Norte, Philippines. Austinian. Relating to or characteristic of John Austin, legal philosopher. Austinite. A native or resident of Austin, Texas. Austinites. Plural of Austinite. Austinal. A polycyclic meroterpenoid present in Aspergillus. Azo. Abbreviation of Australia. Azo. Abbreviation of Australian Capital Territory. Austin. A surname. Austins. Plural of Austin. Australia. Misspelling of Australia. Austro. A Polynesian language spoken on the Austral Islands of French Polynesia. Austral blackbird. A species of bird, Curious found in southern South America. Austral blackbirds. Plural of Austral blackbird. Austral canure. Synonym of Austral parakeet. Austral canures. Plural of Austral canure. Austral English. Australian English and New Zealand English collectively. Austral Island. A small Antarctic island in the extreme southern lobe of Penny Bay in the Windmill Islands. Austral Islands. The southernmost group of islands in French Polynesia. Austral Ocean. The Southern Ocean. Austral parakeet. A species of South American parrot, Enignathus ferrugineus. Austral parakeets. Plural of austral parakeet. Austral. Abbreviation of Australia. Australasia. Synonym of Oceania, a continent or continental region composed of Australia, New Zealand, and the islands of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. Australasian. Relating to Australia and its surrounding regions of New Guinea, Indonesia, and the Southwest Pacific Ocean. Australasian figbird. A species of figbird, Sphecathus violoti of Australia and New Guinea. Australasian figbirds, plural of Australasian figbird. Australasian pig-nosed turtle. Certochles insculpta, a species of soft-shelled turtle native to freshwater streams, lagoons, and rivers of the Northern Territory of Australia and of southern New Guinea. Australasian pig-nosed turtles, plural of Australasian pig-nosed turtle. Australasian robin, any of numerous robin-like passerine birds of the family Petrocidae, endemic to Australasia. Australasian robins, plural of Australasian robin. Australasian slimwing, a subspecies of libellulid dragonfly, Laphrocista asiatica festa, endemic to northern Australia. Australasian slimwings, plural of Australasian slimwing. Australasian swampfin, a species of swampfin Porphyriomelanetus of Australia, New Zealand, New Guinea, and Pacific Islands. Australasian swampfins, plural of Australasian swampfin. Australasian tree creeper, any passerine bird of the family Climacteridae, native to Australia and New Guinea. Australasians, plural of Australasian. Australasiatic, Australasian. Australasiatics, plural of Australasiatic. Austral-E, abbreviation of Australian English. Australia, an island of Oceania. Australia antigen, surface antigen of the hepatitis B virus HBs-AG. Australia antigens, plural of Australia antigen. Australia Day, 26 January, Australia's National Day in commemoration of the foundation of the first settlement in 1788. Australia Felix, a name for the comparatively lush areas of Western Victoria, Australia. Australia tax, the generally higher prices in Australia of goods and services than in other comparable nations. Australian, a person from the country of Australia or of Australian descent. Australian Aboriginal, the group of languages comprising several language families and isolates native to Australia and a few nearby islands, but by convention excluding Tasmania. Australian Alps, a mountain range in Southeast Australia. Australian approved name, a generic name for a drug set for use in Australia by the Therapeutic Goods Administration. Australian approved names, plural of Australian approved name. Australian as a kangaroo, having characteristics considered quintessential to Australians, very Australian. Australian as a meat pie, having characteristics considered quintessential to Australians, very Australian. Australian ballot, the secret ballot system of voting in which voting is done in private on a state-issued ballot, and ballots incorrectly marked are set aside as invalid. Australian ballots, plural of Australian ballot. Australian bear, a koala. Australian bears, plural of Australian bear. Australian bonito, a marine species of bonito located in the Australian and Oceanic region, Sarda australis. Australian bonitos, plural of Australian bonito. Australian boobook, a species of boobook owl, Ninox boobook, found throughout mainland Australia. Australian boobooks, plural of Australian boobook. Australian bar, Iceria purchazi, the cottony cushion scale insect. Australian bugs, plural of Australian bug. Australian bush hat, slouch hat. Australian bush hats, plural of Australian bush hat. Australian Capital Territory, a federal territory which is an enclave in southern New South Wales, southeastern Australia, in which the country's capital, Canberra, is located. Australian cattle dog, a breed of herding dog bred in Australia for controlling cattle. Varieties include the Queensland Heeler, Blue Heeler, and Red Heeler. Australian cattle dogs, plural of Australian cattle dog. Australian Central Daylight Time, a time zone used in the Australian states of New South Wales and South Australia. Australian cockroach, the cockroach Paraplaneta australacea. Australian cockroaches, plural of Australian cockroach. Australian crawl, the front crawl swimming stroke. Australian dollar, the official currency of Australia. Australian dollars, plural of Australian dollar. Australian doubles, a game of tennis with 3 people, pitching a singles player against a doubles pairing and rotating who plays singles each game. Australian dream, the Australian ambition of becoming a homeowner seen as a sign of success and security. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, a time zone used in the Australian states of Australian Capital Territory, New South Wales, Tasmania, and Victoria. Australian Eastern Standard Time, the time zone of GMT plus 10:00, used in Eastern Australia, comprising 4 states. Queensland is the only state to remain constant through daylight savings time while the others transition to GMT plus 11:00. Australian Emperor, a species of dragonfly, Anax papuensis, of Australia, New Guinea, Indonesia, New Zealand, and New Caledonia. Australian emperors, plural of Australian emperor. Australian encephalitis, synonym of Murray Valley encephalitis. Australian English, the form of the English language used in Australia. Australian football, synonym of Australian rules football. Australian grayling, a primarily freshwater fish, Prototrux marina, found in coastal rivers in southeastern mainland Australia and Tasmania. Australian graylings, plural of Australian grayling. Australian green tree frog, any of species Ramidia caerulea sin. Latoria caerulea of docile tree frogs common in Australia, often found near or even inside houses. Australian green tree frogs, plural of Australian green tree frog. Australian Creole, a Creole language widely spoken by Australian Aborigines in Arnhem Land, originating in a creolization of Australian Pidgin English. Australian lungfish, Neoceratodus forsteri, the only surviving member of the family Neoceratodontidae. Australian magpie, a magpie-like black and white passerine bird of species Gymnorhina tibasin, native to Australia and southern New Guinea and introduced to New Zealand, Fiji, and the Solomon Islands. Australian magpies, plural of Australian magpie. Australian miss, a medium-sized, short-haired domestic cat of a breed originating in Australia. Australian miss, plural of Australian miss. Australian mulberry, a smallish Australian rainforest tree, Hedycaria angustifolia. Australian painted snipe, a species of wader, Rostricula australis, endemic to Australia. Australian painted snipes, plural of Australian painted snipe. Australian paralysis tick, an Australian tick of species Ixodes holocyclus that can cause paralysis by injecting neurotoxins into its host. Australian paralysis ticks, plural of Australian paralysis tick. Australian pelican, a species of pelican, Pelecanus conspicuatus, found primarily in Australia and New Guinea. Australian pelicans, plural of Australian pelican. Australian Pidgin English, a pidgin formerly used between Australian Aboriginal peoples and non-Aboriginal settlers in Australia, beginning with Port Jackson Pidgin English and developing into Australian Creole. Australian Pied Imperial Pigeon, Synonym of Torresian imperial pigeon. Australian pied imperial pigeons. Plural of Australian pied imperial pigeon. Australian pitcher plant. Alternative form of Western Australian pitcher plant. Australian pitcher plants. Plural of Australian pitcher plant. Australian plague locust. A species of acridid locust, Shortoicetes terminifera, native to Australia, is significant agricultural pest. Australian plague locusts. Plural of Australian plague locusts. Australian plainhead. A breed of domestic canary that was created for show purposes. Australian plainheads. Plural of Australian plainhead. Australian pratincoal. Stiltia isabella, a species of bird. Australian pratincoals. Plural of Australian pratincoal. Australian prowfish. Any fish of the family Padicidae, characterized by a long dorsal fin that begins far forward on the head, forming a prow shape, and extends all the way to the caudal fin. Australian prowfishes. Plural of Australian prowfish. Australian pull-up. A type of pull-up where the lifter lies under a horizontal bar or some other kind of suspension trainer with an overhand grip, straight arms, straight body, upper body hanging with heels on the ground, and pulls their chest to bring it to the level of the suspension trainer. Australian raven. A large species of corvid, Corvus cornoides, endemic to mainland Australia. Australian ravens. Plural of Australian raven. Australian reed warbler. A species of reed warbler, Acrosphalis australis of Australia, New Guinea, and Indonesia. Australian reed warblers. Plural of Australian reed warbler. Australian rhyming slang. The set of slang expressions used by Australians in which a word or phrase is replaced by a rhyming word or phrase, this word or phrase then often being abbreviated to its first syllable or syllables or its first word. Examples include bag of fruit, Joe Blake, and Noah's Ark. Much Australian rhyming slang overlaps with the rhyming slang of New Zealand, the UK, and the US. Australian rules. Ellipsis of Australian rules football. Australian rules football. A variety of football devised in Australia, played on an oval field with an oval ball that players try to kick between the goalposts or between a central and outer post. Australian salmon. Synonym of Kahawai the fish, Chiripes trutta. Australian shepherd. A type of herding dog originating in areas around and in California. Australian shepherds. Plural of Australian shepherd. Australian Sign Language. Auslan, the sign language of the Australian deaf community. Australian Spotted Cuscus. The Spilocuscus nudicaudata. Australian Spotted Cuscuses. Plural of Australian Spotted Cuscus. Australian Studies. The study of Australians and Australian culture. Australian Stumpy Tail Cattle Dog. A naturally bobtailed or tailless medium-sized cattle herding dog. Australian Stumpy Tail Cattle Dogs. Plural of Australian Stumpy Tail Cattle Dog. Australian Teak. Synonym of crow's ash. Australian Tiger. A Gompha dragonfly, Ictinogompha's australis, of Australia, having a black and yellow patterned abdomen and thorax. Australian Tigers. Plural of Australian tiger. Australian water dragon. An agamid lizard of species Intelligama lesseurei, native to eastern Australia, New South Wales, Queensland, Victoria. Australian water dragons. Plural of Australian water dragon. Australian white ibis. Thresgirnes malaca, a species of wading bird of the ibis family, Thresgirnithidae, which is widespread across much of Australia and has a predominantly white plumage with a bare, black head, long downcurved bill and black legs. Australian white ibises, plural of Australian white ibis. Australian willow, a tree native to Australia with drooping branches reminiscent of a weeping willow, Jadra parviflora. Australian wood cockroach, a species of cockroach, Paintsthea cribrata. Australian wood cockroach, Jadra parviflora. Australian wood cockroach, a species of cockroach, Paintsthea cribrata. Australian wood cockroaches, plural of Australian wood cockroach. Australian X disease, synonym of Murray Valley encephalitis. Australiana, all things particular to Australia, culture and people, anything that is a symbol of Australian life. Australianese, Australian English, especially when containing Australian slang or other Australianisms. Australianization, the act or process of Australianizing. Australianize, to make Australian as to custom, culture, or style. Australianize, simple past and past participle of Australianize. Australianizes, third person singular simple present indicative of Australianize. Australianizing, present participle and gerund of Australianize. Australianism, a word or phrase only used in Australia or having a special meaning there. Australianisms, plural of Australianism. Australianists, somebody who favors the values of Australia. Australianists, plural of Australianists. Australianization, act or process of making Australian. Australianize, alternative form of Australianize. Australianize, simple past and past participle of Australianize. Australianizes, third person singular simple present indicative of Australianize. Australianizing, present participle and gerund of Australianize. Australianly, in an Australian manner. Australianness, the state or quality of being Australian. Australians, plural of Australian. Australopithecine, any marsupial of the superorder Australopithecine. Australopithecines, plural of Australopithecine. Australi, a particular polyhydroxylated pyrrolizidine alkaloid. Australoid, alternative form of australoid. Australoids, plural of australoid. Australici, a particular naturally occurring chrome. Australicines, plural of australicine. Australite, a kind of tektide found in Australia. Australites, plural of australite. Australize, to tend toward the South Pole as a magnet. Australize, simple past and past participle of australize. Australizes, third person singular simple present indicative of australize. Australizing, present participle and gerund of australize. Australly, in an austral manner of or to the south. Australo, Australian. Australo-Melanesian, a member of a grouping of various people indigenous to Melanesia and Australia, sometimes also including some groups found in parts of South and Southeast Asia. Australo-Melanesians, plural of Australo-Melanesian. Australo-Papuan babbler, any of the family Pumitastomidi of passerine birds from New Guinea and Australia. Australobatracian, any frog of the suborder Australobatracia. Australobatracians, plural of Australobatracian. Australochiliid, any extinct species of turtle in the genus Australochilii. Australochiliids, plural of Australochiliid. Australopithecine, misspelling of Australopithecine. Australopithecines, misspelling of Australopithecines. Australoi, a historical grouping and racial classification which mainly includes Aboriginal Australians but also Andaman Australasians, Melanesians, Micronesians, Negritos, New Guineans, and Vedas. Australoids, plural of Australoid. Australa, an organic compound with the formula CHCHC6H4OH. Australomelansoid, synonym of Australomelanesian. Australomelansoids, plural of Australomelansoi. Australum, a prenylflavonoid found in Morus australis. Australopho, one who fears, dislikes, or discriminates against Australians. Australophobes, plural of Australopho. Australophobia, the fear or hatred of Australians. Australope, alternative lettercase form of Australopith. Australopitheci, plural of Australopithecus. Australopithecine, alternative lettercase form of Australopithecine. Australopithecines, plural of Australopithecine. Australopithecus, synonym of Australopith. Australopithecus, plural of Australopithecus. Australopiths, plural of Australopith. Australorp, a chicken of an Australian breed developed for egg-laying. Australorps, plural of Australorp. Australosphenidin, any echidna or platypus of the Infaculus australosphenida. Australosphenidins, plural of Australosphenidin. Australs, plural of Austral. Australia, an early medieval geographic region corresponding to the homeland of the Merovingian Franks in modern western Germany, northeastern France, Belgium, and parts of the Netherlands. Capital, Metz. Austrasian, a person from the historical province of Austrasia. Austrasians, plural of Austrasian. Austriois, misspelling of Australis. Austria, a country in Central Europe. Official name, Republic of Austria. Capital and largest city, Vienna. Austria-Hungary, a former multi-ethnic empire and country in Central Europe existing from 1867 to 1918. Austria, of, from, or pertaining to Austria. Austrian copper, ellipsis of Austrian copper rose. Austrian copper rose, the rose Rosa foetida. Austrian copper roses, plural of Austrian copper rose. Austrian coppers, plural of Austrian copper. Austrian Empire, a multinational European great power that lasted from 1804 to 1867. Austrian German, a national standard variety of the German language that is spoken and written in Austria and Bolzano-Bozen, Italy. Austrian lip, synonym of Habsburg lip. Austrian lips, plural of Austrian lip. Austrian Netherlands, a former dependent territory of the Austrian Empire consisting of the southern part of the Low Countries, modern Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg from 1714 to 1797 when they were annexed by France. Austrian oak, synonym of Turkey oak. Austrian oaks, plural of Austrian oak. Austrian peaweed, the plant Sphaerophysa salsilla. Austrian pine, the tree Pinus nigra. Austrian pines, plural of Austrian pine. Austrian syndrome, the presence of pneumonia, endocarditis, and meningitis, all caused by the bacterium Streptococcus pneumoniae. Austrianism, the heterodox school of economic thought based on methodological individualism that originated in late 19th and early 20th century Vienna. Austrianisms, plural of Austrianism. Austrianization, the act or process of making Austrian. Austrianize, to make Austrian. Austrianus, the state or quality of being Austrian. Austrians, plural of Austrian. Austria, pertaining to proposed macrofamily of languages including the Austroasiatic Daik and Austronesian language families among others. Austrian, southerly, Austral. Austringer, a keeper of goshawks. Austringers, plural of Austringer. Austria, a supposed chemical element proposed by Eduard Linnemann in 1886, later found to be gallium. Austria, Austroasiatic, alternative spelling of Austroasiatic. Austro-Hungarian, of, from, or pertaining to Austria-Hungary. Austro-Hungarian Empire, Austria-Hungary. Austro-Hungarians, plural of Austro-Hungarian. Austro-Hungary. Austria-Hungary. Austroslavism, alternative form of Austroslavism. Austroasiatic, of the Austroasiatic languages, a major language family spoken in parts of Southeast Asia, India, and the Nicobar Islands. Austroasiaticist, a linguist who specializes in studying Austroasiatic languages. Austroasiaticists, plural of Austroasiaticists. Austrocentric, focused on Australia or the people and culture of Australia. Austrofascism, a fascist political movement in Austria between 1933 and 1938 until the country's annexation by Nazi Germany. Austrofascists, relating to Austrofascism. Austrofascists, plural of Austrofascists. Austrognathid, any nathastamilid in the family Austrognathidee. Austromancy, soothsaying or divination from observing the winds or clouds. Austro-Marxism, a form of Austrian Marxism that attempted to reconcile nationality and nationalism with socialism in the imperial context. Austro-Marxists, relating to Austro-Marxism. Austronesia, those areas of the world, mostly in Southeast Asia and the Pacific, but also including Madagascar, that are inhabited by speakers of Austronesian languages. Austronesian, pertaining to the Austronesian language family. Austronesianist, a linguist specializing in Austronesian languages. Austronesianists, plural of Austronesianists. Austronesians, plural of Austronesian. Austrophile, archaic form of Austrophile. Austrophile, one who loves Austria or the Austrian people. Austrophiles, plural of Austrophile. Austrophilia, a love of Austria or the Austrian people. Austrophilic, fan of Austria or the Austrian people. Austrophilism, a love of Austria or the Austrian people. Austrophils, plural of Austrophil. Austrophobe, someone who fears or dislikes Austria or the Austrians. Austrophobes, plural of austrophobe. Austrophobic, showing austrophobia. Austropop, Austrian pop music. Austroparian, a biogeographic province in the southeastern United States. Austroslavism, a political concept and program aimed to solve problems of Slavic peoples in the Austrian Empire. Austratilopiae, any of a certain genus of African cichlid. Austratilopians, plural of Austratilopiae. Austrovnetin, a yellow-green pigment found in the fungus Cortinarias ostrovnetus. Osts, plural of Ost. Ostoi, a village and civil parish in Craven District, North Yorkshire, England. OS Grid Ref SD 7668. Azubo, alada tree. Azumos, plural of Asubo. At, initialism of Auckland University of Technology. At, alternative form of auto. Atakoi, a hormone or similar compound that has a short-term, local effect. Atacoidal, of or relating to an autacoid. Autacoids, plural of autacoid. Autogonistophilia, a paraphilia in which sexual arousal is derived from being recorded during sexual activity or performing on stage in front of others. Authentonym, alternative spelling of autoantonym. Authentonyms, plural of autentonym. Autapomorph, an organism that possesses a derived trait that is unique to a particular taxon. Autapomorphic, describing any characteristic that has evolved in only a single species or other taxon. Autapomorphically, as an autapomorphy. Autapomorphies, plural of autapomorphy. Autapomorphous, alternative form of autapomorphic. Autapomorphs, plural of autapomorph. Autapomorphy, a derived trait that is unique to a particular taxon. Autopotypic, apotypic with regards to its own taxonomic category. Audaps, a synapse formed by the axon of a neuron on its own dendrites. Audaxes, plural of ausaps. Autaptic, capable of self-sensing, as in an audaps. Autaptically, in an autaptic manner. Autarch, a despotic ruler. Autarky, of pertaining to or marked by autarky, autocratic. Autarchical, autardy. Autarchically, in an autark. Autarchic manner. Autarky, obsolete spelling of autarky. Autarkies, plural of autarky. Autarchism, a political philosophy that promotes the principles of individualism and the moral ideology of individual liberty and self-reliance. Autarchist, a proponent of autarchism. Autarchists, plural of autarchists. Autarchoglossen, a squamate of the clade Autarchoglossa. Autarchoglossans, plural of Autarchoglossen. Autarchs, plural of autarch. Autarky, a condition of absolute power. Autard, an autistic person. Autards, plural of autard. Autardy, pertaining to an autarky, self-sufficient. Autarticton, autarkic. Autarchically, in an autarkic way. Autarkies, plural of autarky. Autarchus, a proponent of autarky. Autarchists, plural of autarchists. Autarky, a personal condition or state of self-reliance, independence. Autosassinophilia, a paraphilia in which an individual is sexually aroused by the risk of being killed. Autavia, a former Native American people that was a subgroup of the Alabama people and inhabited the central portion of the state of Alabama. Autauga County, one of 67 counties in Alabama, United States. County seat, Prattville. Autauga Creek, a creek in Autauga County, Alabama that runs through the city of Prattville. Autaugoville, a town in Autauga County, Alabama, United States. Aude, initialism of Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center. Autocologic, relating to autocology. Autocological, relating to autocology. Autocologically, in terms of autocology. Autocologies, plural of autocology. Autocologists, one who studies autocology. Autocologists, plural of autocologists. Autocology, one of two broad divisions of ecology which studies the individual organism or species. Autumn, a shirt. Autumn baller, a parson. Autumn ballers, plural of autumn baller. Autumn cackler, a dissenter, a Protestant who is not a follower of the established church, i.e., Church of England, Church of Scotland, etc. Autumn cacklers, plural of autumn cackler. Autumn cove, a married man. Autumn coves, plural of autumn cove. Autumn dyer, pickpockets who practice in churches, also churchwardens and overseers of the poor. Autumn divers, plural of autumn diver. Autumn gobbler, a religious or spiritual-based con artist or scam operator. Autumn gobblers, plural of autumn gobbler. Autumn jet, a parson. Autumn jets, plural of autumn jet. Autumn mort, a married woman. Autumn morts, plural of autumn mort. Autumn gobbler, alternative form of autumn gobbler. Autumn gobblers, plural of autumn gobbler. Autumn, plural of autumn. Autumn, a surname. Authens, plural of autumn. Auteteranga, a San Daphne. Autuil, a neighborhood of Paris, France. Auteur, a creative artist, especially a film director, seen as having a specific, recognizable artistic vision and who is seen as the single or preeminent author of their works. Auteur theory, the view of film as an art form with an original and personal stylistic vision, especially in contrast to collective authorship in the studio system. Auteur, simple past and past participle of auteur. Auteur, of or related to an auteur. Auteuring, present participle and gerund of auteur. Auteurism, a theory that considers a work of cinema or television as the work of its director rather than of the actors or producers. Auteuris, of, pertaining to, or characteristic of auteurism. Auteuristic, synonym of auteurist. Auteuris, plural of auteuris. Auteurs, plural of auteur. Auteurship, the role or status of auteur. Autexousius, of pertaining to or exercising free will, volition. A surname. Abbreviation of authority. Abbreviation of Authorized Version King James Version of the Bible. Authalic, of a map, equal area. Authber, a surname from Old English. Simple past and past participle of auth. Authlet, a surname from French. Authments, plural of authment. Authenrith, a surname. Authentic, of the same origin as claimed, genuine. Authentic assessment, a method of evaluating a person's skills and knowledge in a real-world context, often emphasizing practical application over rote memorization or standardized testing. Authentic cadence, a cadence involving the resolution of the dominant chord V to the root chord I. Authentic cadences, plural of authentic cadence. Authentic learning, an instructional method that promotes active student engagement in exploring and constructing concepts within real-world contexts. Authenticability, ability to be authenticated. Authenticable, alternative form of authenticatable. Authentical, authentic. Authentically, in an authentic manner, genuinely. Authenticalness, the quality of being authentic, authenticity. Authenticatable, capable of being authenticated. Authenticate, to render authentic, to give authority to by the proof, attestation, or formalities required by law, or sufficient to entitle to credit. Authenticated, past participle of authenticate. Authenticates, third person singular simple present indicative of authenticate. Authenticating, present participle and gerund of authenticate. Authentication, something which validates or confirms the authenticity of something. Authentications, plural of authentication. Authenticator, one who or something which authenticates, as. Authenticators, plural of authenticator. Authenticism, I believe in the superiority of the authentic over the authentic. Authenticisms, plural of authenticism. Authenticis, of pertaining to or espousing authenticism, a belief in the superiority of the authentic over the inauthentic. Authenticists, plural of authenticists. Authenticities, plural of authenticity. Authenticity, the quality of being genuine or not corrupted from the original, of having the same origin or attribution, commitment, intention, etc. as claimed. Authenticization, the process of making something authentic. Authenticize, to make authentic. Authenticize, simple past and past participle of authenticize. Authenticizes, third person singular simple present indicative of authenticize. Authenticizing, present participle and gerund of authenticize. Authentic, obsolete spelling of authentic. Authentic, obsolete form of authentic. Authentically, obsolete form of authentically. Authentically, dated spelling of authentically. Authenticness, the quality of being authentic, authenticity. Authentics, a collection of the novels or new constitutions of Justinian by an anonymous author. Authentication, the process of making or establishing as authentic. Authentications, plural of authentication. Authentify, simple past and past participle of authentify. Authentifies, third person singular simple present indicative of authentify. Authentify, to authenticate. Authentifying, present participle and gerund of authentify. Authentique, obsolete form of authentic. Authentically, obsolete form of authentically. Authygenesis, authygenic formation. Authygenetic, synonym of authygenic. Authygenic, generated where it is found or observed. Authygenically, in an authygenic manner, generated where it is found. Authygenicity, the condition of being authygenic. Authygenous, authygenic. Authing, present participle and gerund of auth. Autochthonous, misspelling of autochthonous. Autophagic, misspelling of autophagic. Autogenous, misspelling of autogenous. Orthograph, a handwritten manuscript. Orthographs, plural of orthograph. Autonomous, misspelling of autonomous. Author, the originator or creator of a work, especially of a literary composition, or one of the creators of a collaborative work. Author mill, a publisher that relies on producing large numbers of small-run books by different authors, as opposed to a smaller number of works published in in larger numbers. Author mills, plural of author mill. Author of life, an epithet of God and of Jesus. Author's edition, an edition of a publication whose publishing costs are borne by the author. Authors plural, synonym of editorial we. Authors we, synonym of editorial we. Authorable, capable of being authored. Authoritative, misspelling of authoritative. Auth or craft, the craft of an author, the writing of books. Authordom, the status or period of being an author. Author, having an author. Authoress, a female author. Authoresses, plural of authoress. Authored, the status or period of being an author. Authoreo, of, coming from, or typical of an author, especially of books. Authorial intent, the intent of an author as encoded in their work. Authorial intents, plural of authorial intent. Authoriality, the condition of being an author. Authorially, as an author. Authoring, present participle and gerund of author. Authoring program, software that can combine text with other multimedia to make an integrated package. Authoring programs, plural of authoring program. Authorings, plural of authoring. Authorizable, alternative spelling of authorizable. Authorization, non-Oxford British English Standard spelling of authorization. Authorizations, plural of authorization. Authorize, non-Oxford British English Standard spelling of authorize. Authorize, alternative spelling of authorized. Authorized term, alternative spelling of authorized term. Authorized terms, plural of authorized term. Authorized version, alternative spelling of authorized version. Authorizer, alternative form of authorizer. Authorizers, plural of authorizer. Authorizes, third person singular simple present indicative of authorize. Authorish, characteristic of an author. Authorizing, present participle and gerund of authorize. Authorism. Authorship. Authorisms, plural of authorism. Authority, authority, the power to enforce rules or give orders. Authoritas, plural of authorita. Authoritarian, demanding obedience to authority, marked by authoritarianism, dictatorial, tyrannical. Authoritarian democracies, plural of authoritarian democracy. Authoritarian democracy, synonym of protected democracy. Authoritarian parent, a parent who practices an authoritarian parenting style marked by high demands, low warmth, and low responsiveness. Mistakes are punished harshly and absolute obedience is expected. Authoritarian parenting, a parenting style marked by high demands, low warmth, and low responsiveness. Rules are usually forced without question. Authoritarianism, a form of government in which the governing body has absolute or almost absolute control. Typically, this control is maintained by force, and little heed is paid to public opinion or the judicial system. Authoritarianisms, plural of authoritarianism. Authoritarianus, a proponent of authoritarianism. Authoritarianistic, of or pertaining to authoritarianism or to authoritarians. Authoritarianists, plural of authoritarianists. Authoritarianly, in an authoritarian manner. Authoritarians, plural of authoritarian. Authoritative, arising or originating from a figure of authority. Authoritative parent, a parent who practices an authoritative parenting style marked by high demands, high warmth, and high responsiveness. Authoritative parenting, a parenting style marked by high demands, high warmth, and high responsiveness. Authoritatively, in an authoritative manner with authority. Authoritativeness, the quality of possessing authority. Authoritativity, the quality of being authoritative. Authority, obsolete spelling of authority. Authorities, plural of authority. Authoritative, misspelling of authoritative. Authority, power or right to make or enforce rules, give orders, or impose obligation, or a position having such power or right. Authority control, the organization of bibliographic information by using a single distinct spelling of a name heading or a numeric identifier for each topic or agent. Authority figure, someone who is in a position of authority. Authority figures, plural of authority figure. Authority issues, disobedience, a disinclination to obey. Authorityless, without authority. Authority-wise, with regard to authority. Authorizable, capable of being authorized. Authorization, an act of authorizing. Authorizations, plural of authorization. Authorize, to grant someone the permission or power necessary to do something, to permit, to sanction or consent to. Authorize, explicitly allowed. Authorized term, a term prescribed by a controlled vocabulary as the one preferable to its synonyms, such as frequency preferable to pitch. Authorized terms, plural of authorized term. Authorized version, synonym of King James Version. Authorizedly, in an authorized manner. Authorizer, one who, or that which authorizes. Authorizers, plural of authorizer. Authorizes, third person singular simple present indicative of authorize. Authorizing, present participle and gerund of authorize. Authorless, without an author. Authorlessness, the condition of being without an author. Authorly, like an author, authorly. Authorling, a young or insignificant author. Authorlings, plural of authorling. Authorly, in the manner of an author. Author, a village and civil parish in East Lindsey District, Lincolnshire, England. OS Grid Ref TF 4080. Authors, plural of author. Authorship, the quality or state of being an author, the function or dignity of an author. Authorships, plural of authorship. Author Talk, the community of writing-oriented accounts on TikTok. Author 2, the community of writing-oriented accounts on YouTube. Author, obsolete spelling of author. Author, simple past and past participle of author. Authoress, obsolete form of authoress. Authoresses, plural of authoress. Authorities, plural of authority. Authority, obsolete form of authority. Authorize, obsolete spelling of authorize. Authorizes, third person singular simple present indicative of authorize. Authors, plural of author. Authorship, obsolete spelling of authorship. Authoress, Rare form of authoress. Authoresses. Plural of authoress. Irex. Female equivalent of author. Is. Plural of auth. Author. Abbreviation of authoritative server. An autistic person. Audis. Plural of audi. Audigender. Having a gender identity linked to one's autism. Aud. A surname from French. Autens. Plural of autism. Autism. A pervasive neurological condition that is observable in early childhood and persists throughout the lifespan, characterized by atypical communication patterns, for example, differences in body language or eye contact, delayed language development, and sensory processing sensitivities. Autism spectrum. The range of conditions classified as pervasive developmental disorders, generally held to include autistic disorder, Asperger's syndrome, and pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified PDD-NOS, also includes childhood disintegrative disorder and Rett syndrome. Autism spectrum condition. Euphemistic form of autism spectrum disorder. Autism spectrum conditions. Plural of autism spectrum condition. Autism spectrum disorder. A disorder involving any of a range of psychological conditions, all characterized by abnormal social interaction and communication, restricted interests, highly repetitive behavior, and eccentricity. Autism spectrum disorders. Plural of autism spectrum disorder. Autismo. Synonym of autistic. Autism and. The domain or sphere of autistic people, a notional place representing autism. Autism-like. Resembling or characteristic of autism. Autisms. Plural of autism. Autis. An autistic person, a person with autism. Autiste. Having autism or pertaining to autism. Autistic disorder. Synonym of autism. Autistic psychopathy. Synonym of Asperger's syndrome. Autistic savant. Savant, idiot savant. Autistic spectrum. Synonym of autism spectrum. Autistic spectrum disorder. Any disorder characterized by symptoms associated with autism. Autistic spectrum disorders. Plural of autistic spectrum disorder. Autistically. In an autistic way. Autistics. Plural of autistic. Autistics and cousins. People with autism and similar conditions, the neurodivergent. Autistiform. Resembling autism. Autis. Plural of autis. Autler-Towns effect. A dynamical Stark effect corresponding to the case when an oscillating electric field, for example that of a laser, is tuned in resonance or close to the transition frequency of a given spectral line, and resulting in a change of the shape of the absorption/emission spectra of that spectral line. Autler-Towns effects. Plural of Autler-Towns effect. An unincorporated community in West Virginia. Autobodies. Plural of autobody. Autobody. The outer shell of a car or any similarly sized motor vehicle, as opposed to the chassis. Autocamp. Alternative form of autocamp. Autocamps. Plural of autocamp. Autoclutch. Alternative form of autoclutch. Autoclutches. Plural of autoclutch. Autocourt. A motel. Autocourts. Plural of autocourt. Auto da fee. The public announcement of the sentences imposed by the Inquisition on supposed heretics. Auto da fe. Alternative spelling of auto da fe. Auto da fes. Plural of auto da fe. Auto da fe. Alternative form of auto da fe. Auto da fe. Alternative form of auto da fe. Auto insurance. Insurance purchased by the owner of a vehicle to cover losses due to traffic accidents or theft. Car insurance. Auto loan. A loan taken for the purpose of purchasing an automobile. Auto loans. Plural of auto loan. Auto mechanic. A person skilled in repairing and maintaining automobiles and other motor vehicles. Auto mechanics. Plural of auto mechanic. Auto park. A parcel of land that has been zoned via local regulation for commercial uses related to automobile sales and maintenance. Auto parks. Plural of auto park. Auto part. Synonym of car part. Auto parts. Plural of auto part. Auto poker. A game for passing the time during car journeys, in which the license plates of other vehicles are interpreted as hands of cards scored similarly to those in poker. Auto polo. A motorsport resembling equestrian polo but using automobiles instead of horses. Auto racing. Any of various sports in which automobiles, motor cars are raced, either around a track, on roads, or across country. Auto rickshaw. A motorized rickshaw of South, Southeast, and East Asia, often available for hire in the manner of a taxi. Auto rickshaws. Plural of auto rickshaw. Auto safety seat. Synonym of child safety seat. Auto safety seats. Plural of auto safety seat. Autoseer. A device which allows for a closed-bolt self-loading firearm to reliably function in fully automatic fire by preventing the hammer or striker from falling until the bolt is fully in battery. Autoseers. Plural of autoseer. Auto shop. A shop that deals in the repair of automobiles. Auto shops. Plural of auto shop. Auto show. A typically annual or semi-annual public event for exhibition of automobiles and automobile designs. Auto shows. Plural of auto show. Auto transport truck. A truck that carries other motor vehicles. Auto transport trucks. Plural of auto transport truck. Auto reflexive, regarding or to oneself. Auto anti-Semitism. Alternative spelling of auto antisemitism. Auto antisemitism. Alternative spelling of auto antisemitism. Auto antonym. Alternative form of auto antonym. Auto antonyms. Plural of auto antonym. Auto way. Alternative form of auto way. Auto ballaster. Alternative form of auto ballaster. Auto ballasters. Plural of auto ballaster. Auto block. Alternative form of auto block. Auto blocked. Past participle of auto block. Auto blocking. Present participle and gerund of auto block. Auto blocks. Plural of auto block. Auto brewery syndrome. A condition in which the contents of the sufferer's stomach ferment, creating alcohol. A urinary analog exists, whereby high urinary glucose may ferment within the bladder. Autocorrection. Alternative form of autocorrection. Auto-da-fee. Alternative form of auto-da-fee. Auto-da-fe. Alternative spelling of auto-da-fee. Auto-da-face. Plural of auto-da-fe. Auto-da-fee. Alternative form of auto-da-fee. Auto-da-fe. Alternative spelling of auto-da-fee. Autodirectional. Able to automatically maintain a preset direction. Autoeducation. The process of educating oneself. Autoemasculation. Emasculation. Emasculation that the receiver commits. Autoethnocide. The destruction of an ethnic culture by its own members. Autofellatio. Alternative form of autofellatio. Auto-forwarding. The capability of forwarding incoming messages from one user account to another user account or from one domain to another. Auto-generated. Automatically generated by something, usually programs. Autogenocide. Alternative form of autogenocide. Autoimmune. Alternative form of autoimmune. Autoinjector. Alternative spelling of autoinjector. Autoinjectors. Plural of autoinjector. Autointoxication. Alternative spelling of autointoxication. Autoloo. Automatic lubrication. Automimicries. Plural of automimicry. Automimicry. Alternative form of automimicry. Auto-off. Capable of switching itself off automatically. Auto-oxidation. Alternative form of autoxidation. Auto-plagiarism. Alternative form of auto-plagiarism. Auto-redirect. Synonym of auto-redirection. Auto-redirected. Simple past and past participle of auto-redirect. Auto-redirecting. Present participle and gerund of auto-redirect. Auto-redirection. Alternative form of auto-redirection. Auto-redirections. Plural of auto-redirection. Auto-redirects. Plural of auto-redirect. Autoredox. A form of redox in which some of a reactant is oxidized and some of the same reactant is reduced. A classic example is the reaction of bromine with water to produce hydrogen, bromide, and bromic acid. 3Br2 plus 3H2O equals HBrO3 plus 5HBr. Auto-replies. Plural of auto-reply. Auto-reply. A feature in email software that sends automatic replies, used for instance when the recipient of a message is on holiday. Auto-return. A feature of a record player that automatically returns the tone arm to its resting position after playing the record. Autosave. Alternative form of autosave. Autosaved. Simple past and past participle of autosave. Autosaves. Plural of autosave. Autosaving. Present participle and gerund of autosave. Auto-shuffle. A feature that automatically randomly reorders something, such as tracks in a playlist or the cards held in a game. Autosuggestion. The practice of suggesting thoughts to oneself. Autosuggestions. Plural of autosuggestion. Auto-tiering. The automatic movement of data between storage locations based on how often it has been accessed in order to optimize performance. Autotoxemia. Alternative spelling of autotoxemia. Auto-tune. An audio processor that corrects the pitch of a recorded track, also used to distort vocals in electronic music. Auto-tuned. Simple past and past participle of auto-tune. Auto-tuner. Any device that performs automatic tuning as of an engine or industrial process. Auto-tuners. Plural of auto-tuner. Auto-tunes. Third-person singular simple present indicative of auto-tune. Auto-tuning. Present participle and gerund of auto-tune. Auto. Abbreviation of automobile. Auto-abstract. An abstract abridgment or summary of a publication generated automatically by a computer. Auto-abstracts. Plural of auto-abstract. Auto-accelerating. Exhibiting auto-acceleration. Auto-acceleration. a local increase in the rate of polymerization of a viscous monomer. Autoaccelerations, plural of autoacceleration. Autoacetylated, modified by autoacetylation. Autoacetylation, the intramolecular acetylation of histone acetyltransferase that functions as a control mechanism in gene expression. Autovacoid, alternative form of autocoid. Autovacoids, plural of autoacoid. Autoactivate, to cause or undergo autoactivation. Autoactivated, simple past and past participle of autoactivate. Autoactivates, third person singular simple present indicative of autoactivate. Autoactivating, present participle and gerund of autoactivate. Autoactivation, autocatalysis. Autoactivations, plural of autoactivation. Autoactivator, an enzyme involved in autoactivation. Autoactivators, plural of autoactivator. Autoactive, spontaneously active without any external stimulus. Autoactivity, synonym of autoreactivity. Autoacylate, to cause or to undergo autoacylation. Autoacylation, intramolecular acylation, especially of an enzyme. Autoacylations, plural of autoacylation. Autoadjusts, to adjust automatically. Autoadjusted, simple past and past participle of autoadjusts. Autoadjusting, present participle and gerund of autoadjusts. Autoadjustment, automatic adjustment. Autoadjustments, plural of autoadjustment. Autoadjusts, third person singular simple present indicative of autoadjusts. Autoadjuvant, a substance that enhances the immune response to an antigen produced by the same organism. Autoadjuvants, plural of autoadjuvant. Autoadminister, synonym of self-administered. Autoagglutinable, able to cause or to undergo autoagglutination. Autoagglutinate, to cause or to undergo autoagglutination. Autoagglutinated, simple past and past participle of autoagglutinate. Autoagglutinating, subject to autoagglutination. Autoagglutination, the clumping together of an individual's red blood cells by his or her own serum due to the cells being coated on the surface with antibodies. Autoagglutinations, plural of autoagglutination. Autoagglutinin, an antibody that agglutinates red blood cells. Autoagglutinins, plural of autoagglutinin. Autoaggregate, to cause or to undergo autoaggregation. Autoaggregate, simple past and past participle of autoaggregate. Autoaggregating, present participle and gerund of autoaggregate. Autoaggregation, the aggregation of bacteria and of influence of essen. Autoaggregative, that leads to autoaggregation. Autoaggression, the behavior of autoaggressive antibodies. Autoaggressive, that attacks the organism that produces them. Autoalarm, an automatic radio receiver on a ship for picking up distress calls. Autoalarms, plural of autoalarm. Autoalgometer, a device that measures the pressure applied to the skin by a metal tip used to measure pain resistance. Autoalgometers, plural of autoalgometer. Autoalgometer, relating to autoalgometry, measured using an autoalgometer. Past participle of autoline. Autoaligning, present participle and gerund of autoalign. Autoalignment, automatic alignment. Autoaligns, third person singular simple present indicative of autoalign. Autoallergic, related to or causing autoallergy. Autoallergies, plural of autoallergy. Autoallergy, autoimmunity. Autoallopolyploid, allopolyploid, and having one set of chromosomes or one genome in a more than diploid state. Autoamplification, amplification without external means. Autoamplificatory, relating to or causing autoamplification. Autoamplify, simple past and past participle of autoamplify. Autoamplifies, third person singular simple present indicative of autoamplify. Autoamplify, to amplify without external influence. Autoamplifying, present participle of autoamplify. Autoamputate, to detach spontaneously from the body, to undergo autoamputation. Autoamputative, simple past and past participle of autoamputate. Autoamputates, third person singular simple present indicative of autoamputate. Autoamputating, present participle and gerund of autoamputate. Autoamputation, the spontaneous detachment from the body and elimination of an appendage or an abnormal growth, such as of a polyp. Autoamputations, plural of autoamputation. Autoanalingus, the oral stimulation of one's own anus. Autoanalyzer, any of several different devices that partially automate analysis. Autoanalyzers, plural of autoanalyzer. Autoanalyzes, plural of autoanalysis. Autoanalysis, analysis of oneself. Autoanalyst, a practitioner of autoanalysis. Autoanalysts, plural of autoanalysts. Autoanalytic, relating to autoanalysis. Autoanalytical, relating to autoanalysis. Autoanalytically, by means of or in terms of autoanalysis. Autoanalyzer, alternative form of autoanalyzer. Autoanalyzers, plural of autoanalyzer. Autoandrogen morphophilia, the supposed paraphilic attraction to the thought of being a transgender man androgyne morph. Autoandrophile, a person who exhibits autoandrophilia. Autoandrophile, plural of autoandrophile. Autoandrophilia, in Blanchard's transsexualism typology, the supposed paraphilic tendency of a female person to be sexually aroused by the thought of becoming a male. Autoandrophilia, relating to autoandrophilia. Autoanswer, a feature of a telephone, modem, etc. that allows an incoming call to be answered automatically. Autoanthropologies, plural of autoanthropology. Autoanthropology, an approach to anthropology in which the author's own anecdotal or personal experience is foregrounded. Autoanthropometer, an automatic anthropometer. Autoanthropometers, plural of autoanthropometer. Autoantibodies, plural of autoantibody. Autoantibody, an antibody formed in response to an agent autoantigen produced by the organism itself. Autoantigen, any antigen that stimulates autoantibodies in the organism that produced it, an antigen produced by the self, that is, by one's own tissues. Autoantigenic, relating to autoantigens. Autoantigenicity, the condition of being an autoantigen. Autoantigens, plural of autoantigen. Autoantisemitism, anti-Semitic attitudes held by a Jew. Autoantonym, a word that has two opposing meanings. Autoantonymic, of relating to or being an autoantonym or autoantonyms. Autoantonyms, plural of autoantonym. Autopomorph, alternative form of autapomorph. Autopomorphic, alternative form of autapomorphic. Autopomorphies, plural of autopomorphy. Autopomorphs, plural of autopomorph. Autopomorphy, alternative form of autapomorphy. Autoappendectomies, plural of autoappendectomy. Autoappendectomy, an appendectomy performed on oneself via self-surgery. Autoarousal, self-arousal in particular. Autoasphyxia, synonym of autoasphyxiation. Autoasphyxiate, to commit autoasphyxiation. Autoasphyxiated, simple past and past participle of autoasphyxiate. Autoasphyxiates, third person singular simple present indicative of autoasphyxiate. Autoasphyxiating, present participle and gerund of autoasphyxiate. Autoasphyxiation, the practice of choking or strangling oneself for sexual gratification. Autoassembly, synonym of self-assembly. Autoassociation, the condition of being autoassociative. Autoassociations, plural of autoassociation. Autoassociative, that can create associations from its own content. Autoassociator, synonym of autoencoder. Autoassociator, plural of autoassociator. Autoaugmentation, the augmentation of a body part by using tissue from elsewhere, but especially enhancement of a woman's breast size and shape by using her own tissue. Autoaugmentations, plural of autoaugmentation. Auto-away, an instant messaging feature that automatically marks a user as being away if the user does not interact with the computer or device in a set period of time. Auto-backup, automatic backup. Auto-backups, plural of auto-backup. Autobahn, the high-speed intercity highways of Germany and Austria. Autobahnen, plural of Autobahn. Autobahns, plural of Autobahn. Auto-balancing, automatic balancing. Auto-ballaster, a type of ballast wagon used to carry new ballast and then spread it along a section of railway track. Auto-ballasters, plural of auto-ballaster. Autoban, an automatic ban, a ban administered automatically. Autobank, synonym of automated teller machine. Autobanks, plural of autobank. Autoban, simple past and past participle of autoban. Autobanning, present participle and gerund of autoban. Autobans, plural of autoban. Autobarotropic, of or pertaining to autobarotropy. Autobarotropy, the state of a fluid in which pressure and density surfaces coincide as a result of a combination of barotropy and pisotropy. Autobasidia, plural of autobasidium. Autobasidium, synonym of holobasidium. Autobattler, a game in which players place characters on a grid before the start of the battle. After the battle starts, the characters fight automatically and no further input is required from the players. Autobattlers, plural of autobattler. Autobaud, the automatic detection of a suitable baud rate by examining the incoming data. Autobenefactive, especially indicating that the agent of an action is its benefactor. Autopacity, the situation of cars being too big and heavy, taking too much space and causing road safety and pollution problems. Autobibliography, a self-compiled compiled list of one's own writings or literary works. Autobicycle, motorcycle. Autobicycles, plural of autobicycle. Autobid, a bid for a sports team to participate in a tournament based on objective performance in prior competition. Autobids, plural of autobid. Autobike, clipping of autobicycle, motorcycle, motorbike. Autobikes, plural of autobike. Autobio, autobiography. Autobiochemical, relating to autobiochemistry. Autobiochemistry, the application of automation in biochemistry. Autobi, and autobiography. Autobiographiction, fiction containing autobiographical elements. Autobiographical, being or relating to autobiographiction. Autobiographical, autobiographical. Autobiographer, one who writes his or her own life or biography. Autobiographers, plural of autobiographer. Autobiographic, synonym of autobiographical. Autobiographical, of or relating to a person's life or an account of a person's life as told by the subject. Autobiographicalize, to convert into an autobiography. Autobiographicalize, simple past and past participle of autobiographicalize. Autobiographicalizes, third person singular simple present indicative of autobiographicalize. Autobiographicalizing, present participle and gerund of autobiographicalize. Autobiographically, in an autobiographical manner. Autobiographicalness, the quality of the autobiographical. Autobiographies, plural of autobiography. Autobiographism, the tendency of writers to base their writings on their own lives. Autobiographist, an autobiographer. Autobiographists, plural of autobiographists. Autobiography, a self-written biography, the story of one's own life. Autobiographies, plural of autobi. Autobioluminescence, bioluminescence generated without any external influence. Autobioluminescent, relating to autobioluminescence. Autobiopic, an autobiographical biopic. Autobiopics, plural of autobiopic. Autobios, plural of autobio. Autobiotinylate, to produce or to undergo autobiotinylation. Autobiotinylated, simple past and past participle of autobiotinylate. Autobiotinylation, enzymatic biotinylation of an enzyme itself. Autoblanking, automatic blanking. Autoblock, a technique used in rappelling and ascending with a friction hitch around the climbing rope. Autoblocked, past participle of autoblock. Autoblocking, present participle and gerund of autoblock. Autoblocks, plural of autoblock. Autoboat, a motorboat. Autoboats, plural of autoboat. Autobodies, plural of autobody. Autobody, alternative form of autobody. Autoboot, to boot automatically. Autobooted, simple past and past participle of autoboot. Autobooting, present participle and gerund of autoboot. Autoboots, third person singular simple present indicative of autoboot. Autobox, to box a value, automatically map a primitive data item to a complex object. Autobox, automatically boxed mapped from a primitive type to a complex object. Autoboxes, Third-person singular simple present indicative of autobox. Autoboxing, automatic boxing, the implicit conversion of primitive data types to wrapper objects. Auto-bracketing, a camera feature where several successive shots are taken with slightly different settings and then automatically combined. Auto-brake, a system that automatically applies an aircraft's hydraulic wheel brakes upon touchdown during landing or when the throttle is reduced to idle during a rejected takeoff. Auto-brakes, plural of auto-brake. Auto-braking, automatic braking. Auto-buffering, automatic buffering. Auto-buffet, a railway vending machine selling food items. Auto-buffets, plural of auto-buffet. Autobus, a bus that is a motor vehicle as opposed to earlier horse-drawn buses. Autobuses, plural of autobus. Autobuses, plural of autobus. Autocab, a motor vehicle operating as a cab as opposed to earlier horse-drawn cabs. Autocabs, plural of autocab. Autocay, motorcay. Autocades, plural of autocade. Auto-calibrated, calibrated by means of auto-calibration. Auto-calibrating, that calibrates automatically or autonomously. Auto-calibration, automatic calibration. Auto-calibrations, plural of auto-calibration. Auto-callable, expiring and paying a large coupon to the buyer if the underlying goes above a predetermined level. Auto-callables, plural of auto-callable. Auto-camp, a campground for tourists traveling by automobile. Auto-camped, simple past and past participle of auto-camp. Auto-camper, one who travels by automobile to stay at an auto-camp. Auto-campers, plural of auto-camper. Auto-camping, present participle and gerund of auto-cam. Auto-camps, plural of auto-cam. Auto-cancel, to cancel a previously posted message on Usenet automatically. Auto-cancelled, simple past and past participle of auto-cancel. Auto-canceling, present participle and gerund of auto-cancel. Auto-cancelled, simple past and past participle of auto-cancel. Auto-canceling, present participle and gerund of auto-cancel. Auto-cancels, third-person singular simple present indicative of auto-cancel. Auto-cannibalism, the eating of part of one's own body. Autocannon, a fully automatic projectile weapon similar to a machine gun, but firing shells instead of bullets and larger in caliber. Autocannons, plural of autocannon. Autocapitalization, the automatic capitalization of words by a word processor as at the beginning of a sentence. Autocar, a road vehicle powered by steam or electricity rather than by traction. Autocarist, an auto car driver. Autocarists, plural of autocarists. Autocarpian, synonym of autocarpus. Autocarpic, synonym of autocarpus. Autocarpus, having fruit formed by self-pollination. Autocarpi, the pepivine autocarpus. Autocars, plural of autocar. Autocastration, the removal of one's own testicles. Autocastrations, plural of autocastration. Autocatalyze, alternative spelling of autocatalyze. Autocatalyze, describing the products of an autocatalysis reaction. Autocatalyzes, third-person singular simple present indicative of autocatalyze. Autocatalysis, catalysis of a reaction by one of its products. Autocatalyst, any catalyst that participates in autocatalysis. Autocatalysts, plural of autocatalysts. Autocatalytic, catalyzed by one of its own products. Autocatalytical, synonym of autocatalytic. Autocatalytically, by means of autocatalysis. Autocatalyze, to cause or to undergo autocatalysis. Autocatalyze, simple past and past participle of autocatalyze. Autocatalyzes, third person singular simple present indicative of autocatalyze. Autocatalyzing, present participle and gerund of autocatalyze. Autocategorization, automatic categorization. Autocategorization, automatic categorization. Autocategorize, to automatically categorize. Autocategorize, simple past and past participle of autocategorize. Autocategorizes, third person singular simple present indicative of autocategorize. Autocategorizing, present participle and gerund of autocategorize. Autocatheterism, the operation of introducing a catheter into one's own body. Autocatheterization, synonym of autocatheterism. Autocellular, pertaining to functions or structures within a single cell as opposed to those which are intercellular. Autocentric, centered in or upon the self, making or regarding oneself as the center. Autocentrism, the quality of being autocentric, the tendency to use the internalized set of rules for one's behavior. Autocentromer, describing an anticentromer antibody associated with an autoimmune disease. Autocephalia, alternative form of autocephaly. Autocephalic, autocephalus. Autocephalicity, the quality of being autocephalic. Autocephalies, plural of autocephaly. Autocephality, the right of autonomy for a church, specifically the right to resolve all internal problems on its own authority and to appoint its own bishops, including the head of the church, without any obligatory expression of dependence on another church. Autocephalus, folia dependent of the authority of any church. Autocephaly, the condition where a church's leaders have severed ties to a larger body and thus no longer report to a higher authority. Autochanger, a device for playing multiple music media of a certain kind, gramophone records, compact discs, etc., in a predetermined sequence without user intervention. Autochangers, plural of autochanger. Autochaperone, synonym of autotransporter. Autochaperones, plural of autochaperone. Autochef, a machine that prepares and dispenses meals. Autochefs, plural of autochef. Autochemophoresis, chemophoresis with no external force apply. Autochemotactic, referring to chemotaxis due to a chemical stimulant released by the organism itself. Autochemotaxis, chemotaxis due to a chemical stimulant released by the organism itself. Autochoric, alternative form of autochorus. Autochorus sexual, experiencing sexual arousal or fantasies disconnected from oneself and / or without an active desire for partnered sexual activity. Autochorus sexualism is sexual orientation characterized by a disconnect between the self and sexual arousal or fantasies, for example having sexual fantasies that do not involve oneself, or experiencing arousal without an active desire for partnered sexual activity. Autochorus sexuality, A sexual orientation characterized by a disconnect between the self and sexual arousal or fantasies. For example, having sexual fantasies that do not involve oneself, or experiencing arousal without an active desire for partnered sexual activity. Autochorus, relating to or spread by autochori. Autochorously, in an autochorus manner, by means of autochori. Autochori, self-dispersal of seeds, the physical and often explosive discharge of seeds from the fruit. Autochrome, an early photograph produced by means of a glass plate coated on one side with a random mosaic of microscopic dyed grains of potato starch under silver halide emulsion. Autochromes, plural of autochrome. Autochromic, of or relating to autochrome photography. Autochromosome, alternative form of autosome. Autochromosomes, plural of autochromosome. Autochromy, the production of autochrome photographs. Autochronograph, an instrument for the instantaneous self-recording or printing of time. Autochronographs, plural of autochronograph. Autochthon, the earliest inhabitant of an area, an aborigine. Autochthonal, existing where it was formed or born, native, aboriginal, indigenous. Autochthone, alternative form of autochthon. Autochthonity, the condition of being autochthonous. Autochthones, plural of autochthon. Autochthonic, existing where it was formed or born, native, aboriginal, indigenous. Autochthonies, plural of autochthony. Autochthonism, the state of being autochthonal. Autochthonous, an advocate of autochthony. Autochthonous, plural of autochthonous. Autochthonous, native to the place where found, indigenous. Autochthonous micrit, synonym of automicrit. Autochthonously, in an autochthonous manner. Autochthonousness, the quality of being autochthonous. Autochthons, plural of autochthon. Autochthony, an aboriginal condition or state. Autochthonous, alternative spelling of autochthonous. Autocidal, relating to autocide. Autocy, control of a pest through propagation of sterile males. Autocides, plural of autocy. Autocinesis, alternative form of autokinesis. Autocircumcision, circumcision performed by and on oneself. Autocitation, the citing of one's own work, self-citation. Autocitrullinated, modified by autocitrulination. Autocitrulination, citrulination of or by a citrullinated enzyme. Autoclases, destruction of tissue due to internal or immunological processes. Autoclassification, automatic classification. Autoclassify, simple past and past participle of autoclassify. Autoclassifier, something that autoclassifies. Autoclassifiers, plural of autoclassifier. Autoclassifies, third person singular simple present indicative of autoclassify. Autoclassify, to automatically classify. Autoclassifying, present participle and gerund of autoclassify. Autoplastic, broken in place, said of rocks having a broken or brecciated structure due to crushing, in contrast to those of brecciated materials brought from a distance. Autoclavability, the ability of something to be treated in an autoclave without sustaining damage. Autoclavable, that can be used inside an autoclave without damage. Autoclavation, treatment in an autoclave. Autoclavations, plural of autoclavation. Autoclave, a strong, pressurized, heated vessel, as for laboratory experiments, sterilization, cooking, or mineral processing. Autoclaved, that has been heated, treated, or sterilized in an autoclave. Autoclaves, plural of autoclave. Autoclaving, present participle and gerund of autoclave. Autoclavings, plural of autoclaving. Autocleaning, automatic cleaning, self-cleaning. Autocleavable, that can be autocleaved. Autocleavage, cleavage without the use of enzymes. Autocleave, to cleave without the use of enzymes. Autocleaved, subject to autocleavage. Autocleaves, third person, singular simple present indicative of autocleave. Autocleaving, that undergoes autocleavage. Autoclesis, the arousing of interest in something by mentioning it in a negative or dismissive way. Autoclick, a software feature that simulates the click of a mouse button. Autoclick, simple past and past participle of autoclick. Autoclicker, a program that simulates the click of a mouse, typically used to automate commands in a graphical user interface. Autoclickers, plural of autoclicker. Autoclicking, the act of using a computer program in order to simulate clicking the mouse. Autoclicks, third person singular simple present indicative of autoclick. Autoclip, a stainless steel clip used to close wounds that can be removed using a forceps when the wound has healed. Autoclips, plural of autoclip. Autoclitic, a verbal behavior that has an organizing function. For example, grammatical and rhetorical sequences can be selected by the speaker so as to achieve a particular goal. This occurs because listeners are strongly affected by the composition of the discourse they are exposed to. Autoclitics, plural of autoclitic. Autoclose, to close automatically. Autoclose, simple past and past participle of autoclose. Autocloses, third person singular simple present indicative of autoclose. Autoclosing, present participle and gerund of autoclose. Autoclustering, automatic clustering. Autoclutch, automatic clutch system. Autoclutches, plural of autoclutch. Autocoach, an unpowered railway coach with a driving cab at one end, used in a push-pull train in conjunction with a locomotive or other powered vehicle. Autocoaches, plural of autocoach. Autocode, any of several early assembly languages. Autocoded, automatically coded. Autocodes, plural of autocode. Autocoding, the automatic addition of sell-by dates and related data onto a product's packaging. Autocoherence, the condition of being autocoherent. Autocoherent, self-coherent. Autocoherer, a self-restoring coherer, such as a microphonic detector. Autocoherers, plural of autocoherer. Autocoy, alternative form of autocoid. Autocoids, plural of autocoy. Autocollimating, that uses autocollimation. Autocollimation, the collimation of a telescope by means of a plane mirror. Autocollimations, plural of autocollimation. Autocollimator, a device that uses a plane mirror to align or collimate optical devices. Autocollimators, plural of autocollimator. Autocolonial, involving only the culture of a colonizing force, reflecting complete assimilation. Autocolonialism, an autocolonial situation, one involving only the culture of a colonizing force. Autocolonies, plural of autocolony. Autocolony, a daughter colony formed inside a cell of a parent colony. Autocombustible, capable of spontaneous combustion. Autocombustion, spontaneous combustion. Autocommit, to commit to make a set of changes permanent automatically. Autocommits, third-person singular simple present indicative of autocommit. Autocommitted, simple past and past participle of autocommit. Autocommitting, present participle and gerund of autocommit. Autocompaction, compaction of a stratum due to its own weight. Autocompactions, plural of autocompaction. Autocompatibility, compatibility of a flower with its own pollen allowing self-pollination. Autocompatible, exhibiting autocompatibility. Autocompensation, automatic compensation. Autocompilation, automatic compilation. Autocompile, to compile automatically. Autocompiled, simple past and past participle of autocompile. Autocompiles, third-person singular simple present indicative of autocompile. Autocompiling, present participle and gerund of autocompile. Autocomplete, to complete automatically. Autocompleted, simple past and past participle of autocomplete. Autocompletes, third-person singular simple present indicative of autocomplete. Autocompleting, present participle and gerund of autocomplete. Autocompletion, a software feature permitting form fields, etc. to be autocompleted. Autocompletions. Plural of autocompletion. Autoconcurrency, the situation where two instances of the same actions occur simultaneously and in parallel. Autoconcurrent, exhibiting or relating to autoconcurrency, occurring simultaneously and in parallel. Autocondensation, a condensation reaction between two molecules of the same compound. Autocondensations, plural of autocondensation. Autoconfig, abbreviation of autoconfiguration. Autoconfiguration, automatic configuration. Autoconfigure, to configure automatically. Autoconfigure, simple past and past participle of autoconfigure. Autoconfigures, third-person singular simple present indicative of autoconfigure. Autoconfiguring, present participle and gerund of autoconfigure. Autoconfirm, to automatically confirm. Autoconfirmation, automatic confirmation. Autoconfirmations, plural of autoconfirmation. Autoconfirmed, simple past and past participle of autoconfirm. Autoconfirming, present participle and gerund of autoconfirm. Autoconfirms, third-person singular simple present indicative of autoconfirm. Autoconfrontation, self-confrontation. Autoconfrontations, plural of autoconfrontation. Autoconnected, connected to itself via an autops. Autoconnection, automatic connection. Autoconstruction, the process of building one's own house with little or no professional help. Autoconsumption, the consumption by oneself of the goods that one has produced. Autocontrasted, automatically contrasted. Autocontrol, automatically controlled. Autoconvection, spontaneous convection in a fluid layer. Autoconvective, of, pertaining to, or exhibiting autoconvection. Autoconversion, automatic conversion. Autoconversions, plural of autoconversion. Autoconvolution, a convolution of a function with itself. Autoconvolutions, plural of autoconvolution. Auto cook, a machine that prepares and dispenses meals. Auto cooks, plural of auto cook. Autocopist, alternative form of autocopyist. Autocopists, plural of autocopist. Autocoprophagus, that eats its own excrement. Autocoprophagy, the feeding on its own excrement. Autocopulation, sexual intercourse with oneself. Autocopious, a kind of calotype-based document copying machine. Autocopyists, plural of autocopyists. Autocorrect, to make an autocorrection, to correct something automatically. Autocorrected, simple past and past participle of autocorrect. Autocorrecting, present participle and gerund of autocorrect. Autocorrection, an automatic correction, especially of text in a word processor. Autocorrections, plural of autocorrection. Autocorrective, that writes itself. Autocorrects, plural of autocorrect. Autocorrelate, to cross-correlate a signal with itself. Autocorrelated, simple past and past participle of autocorrelate. Autocorrelates, third person singular simple present indicative of autocorrelate. Autocorrelating, exhibiting autocorrelation. Autocorrelation, the cross-correlation of a signal with itself, the correlation between values of a signal and successive time periods. Autocorrelational, of or pertaining to autocorrelation. Autocorrelations, plural of autocorrelation. Autocorrelative, relating to autocorrelation. Autocorrelator, a device that modifies a signal with a delayed copy of itself in order to detect any periodic signal hidden in the noise. Autocorrelators, plural of autocorrelator. Autocorrelogram, misspelling of autocorrelogram. Autocorrelogram, a correlogram, especially one that shows autocorrelations. Autocorrelograms, plural of autocorrelogram. Autocorrupt, an autocorrect feature which inadvertently introduces new errors into the writer's text. Autocoup, a coup d'etat in which a nation's leader, despite having come to power through legal means, dissolves or renders powerless the national legislature and unlawfully assumes extraordinary powers. Autocoups, plural of autocoup. Autocovariance, the covariance of a signal with another part of the same signal. Autocovariances, plural of autocovariance. Autocovariates, a covariate used in autocorrelation. Autocovariates, plural of autocovariate. Autocovariation, synonym of autocovariance. Autocovariations, plural of autocovariation. Autocovariagram, a covariagram that shows autocovariances. Autocovariagrams, plural of autocovariagram. Autocracies, plural of autocracy. Autocracy, a form of government in which unlimited power is held by a single individual. Autocraft, to craft automatically. Autocrafted, simple past and past participle of autocraft. Autocrafting, automatic crafting. Autocrafts, third person singular simple past and past participle of autocraft. Autocrafting, automatic crafting. Autocrafts, third person singular simple present indicative of autocrafts. Autocrash, a crash involving one or more cars, trucks, vans or similar motorized vehicles that normally travel on roads. Auto crashes, plural of auto crash. Autocrat, an absolute ruler with infinite power. Autocratus, a female autocrat. Autocratuses, plural of autocratus. Autocratic, of or pertaining to autocracy or to an autocrat, absolute, holding independent and arbitrary powers of government. Autocratical, autocratic. Autocratically, in an autocratic manner. Autocratism, autocracy. Autocratisms, plural of autocratism. Autocratize, to make autocratic. Autocratize, simple past and past participle of autocratize. Autocratizes, third person singular simple present indicative of autocratize. Autocratizing, present participle and gerund of autocratize. Autocrator, archaic form of autocrat. Autocratoric, autocratic. Autocratorical, autocratic. Autocrators, plural of autocrator. Autocratress, a female autocrat. Autocratrices, plural of autocratrix. Autocratrix, a female autocrat. Autocratrixes, plural of autocratrix. Autocrats, plural of autocrat. Autocratship, the state of being an autocrat. Autocracy. Autocreation, automatic creation. Autogramation, self-immolation. Autogrammations, plural of autogrammation. Autocrime, crime involving motor vehicles considered collectively. Autocrimes, plural of autocrime. Autocrinal, autocry. Autocrinally, in an autocrine manner. Autocry, of a hormone, neuropeptide, etc. acting on the cell that produced it. Autocrinely, misspelling of autocrinally. Autocrinous, synonym of autocrine. Autocrinously, synonym of autocrinally. Autocritical, critical of oneself or of one's work or behavior. Autocriticism, self-criticism, criticism of what one has done, said, or been. Autocriticisms, plural of autocriticism.